right. We are all very bored. Very bored. We need joy. We need to dance. We want to go out. We want other people. We want self-expression. We learned, we were locked down, to love ourselves, and we know what we miss. And now we want to go boom into happiness, and that happiness is like carnival. It's almost like carnival. It's colors, do whatever you want. You were also able to do that. You were not following trends anymore. You couldn't shop, etc. So we want to break out. And that means that it's more expression in fashion, in cosmetics, these two extremely. And there can be done everything. Now I know that all the developers have always anxiety to do something extreme, but I'm gonna explain it in two ways. One is, if we look back in recent history, we were in high conjuncture, very international, and what did we do? We created a uniform, and the uniform was all black and white, or a camel coat with a belt, or gray. And that, if you were that, you knew what was going on, you were informed, you were international, and you could go everywhere and mingle in the group. So you could go from a high-end hotel in Amsterdam to a high-end hotel in London to somewhere even outside Europe, or vice versa. So there was like an international code, an international uniform, and that was okay. And it was also related to business because that was safe. Safety uniform. If you look back at it, it is such a restriction, and when we go to other normalities, and I'm going to explain two. One is our traditional clothes. Even in Holland, there's a small island, Zeeland, and only 100 years ago, they had these beautiful silver pieces here. It's like a jewelry for their ear. They had caps, they had all different patterns, layers, one on top of the other. But also I was 2 years ago in Sardinia, and I saw the local clothes from like 80 years ago. And it was all beauty, patterns, colors. And that is what we came from. And the amazing thing, and it's not only in Holland and Sardinia, but also in Japan and in Africa it still is. So in fact, we came to a high conjuncture, international high conjuncture, with limitations. So that is completely amazing. It's amazing. And we can't forget that rule, because we are now in the world after. All those shifts that are made from Corona brings us back to normality, or normality, to humankind and expression, and and not a uniform all over the world. And another one is nature. We started to love nature, and we liked flowers, but also animals. And animals are very close to us because we are animals as well. And when we, for example, look at the birds, we see that the birds, they have all those colors, beauty. We started to love it, but we never think, oh, that one is extreme. No, if we place them towards ourselves, we can be shocked what we did. And okay, the fashion is not nature, but it's like an imitation of the fur of an animal or the feathers. It's to warm us, and it's also kind of being part of the environment, as it is often with birds as well. So in fact, the message is, we're going back to bright and expression, and that feels daring, but it's the other way around. We come from a period with restrictions and an international uniform. And then we look at clothes like 100 years ago, or in non-international areas, for example, in Africa. And we look at the animals, and then we can understand that. And then the message is, forget the limitations and look at what your core business was in other times, like 80 years ago, or, during the whole period. Break out of the limitations of the world before, and that breakout will come because we were locked down. And then there's nothing daring, and you just have a whole new palette of things you can do. Same in packaging. All the packaging in the cosmetics is black. Almost everything. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that strange for color cosmetics? So review every move you do, from packaging to the product, materials, raw materials, that whole range. So you go away from the limitations and you go back to openness, that people are now open in order to express themselves and to get back the joy in their lives.